to the Talkin Kop. I am Gav, this is Matt, and this is Dave Downie from the Blue Room podcast. We are going to preview Everton against Liverpool in the last ever Merseyside derby at Goodison Park before Everton moved to Bramley Dock in next season. First of all, Dave, you're very welcome. A lot of people very, very happy with the fact that you're on here tonight. They were like, "Oh, Dave, he's great value." So, Dave, you're very welcome. How are you?
I'm okay, mate. I think that just doubles up with how shit Everton now, to be honest with you.
No. I think there's Everton fans out there that will tell you, like, let's sign Mourinho, and do things like that. But in fairness to you, Dave, and the lads in the Blue Room, if you don't listen to it, I always tell the people on this channel, if you don't listen to it, go and listen to it, because it's straight down the line, no messing about. It's honesty. It's honesty from start to finish. Steve Murphy says you're live. Yeah, Steve, I know we're live. I don't know what happened there. We pressed the button to go live. It didn't do the intro properly. I'm sorry. Okay, I apologise. No doubt there'll be 40 people in the chat telling me this, and then there'll be another 30 in the comments afterwards having a go because I'm wearing a hat. Maybe because I'm going to sneeze or cough at some stage because I'm literally dying. And any other complaints, please forward them into the comments, and I won't give a bollocks, really, to be perfectly honest. So thanks, Steve, for pointing that out. I'll talk to you later because I play Xbox with the Steve. Steve's grand. Anyway, I want to start. And I'll come to you, Dave. I was telling you before we come on. United, a 4-0 defeat. Everton, probably the better side in the first half an hour. But they get beaten 4-0. And your post-match reaction show was done from a pub in Manchester where two of the guys, and I apologise, their names always slip my mind, they leave the game early to go, look, enough of this, they're sitting in this bar, they're having the chat, they're recording, they're having a beer, and this lad goes on a 20-minute rant about Everton and where they are and what they are, and he basically called them pointless. I want to say well done to that guy because it was absolutely brilliant. But where are Everton, Dave? Was there any truth in what he was saying? Because I felt there was.
Yeah, there's absolutely a lot of truth in that. Inclined to agree with almost everything he said, to be honest with you. And excuse me, I think that is it's been that we've been sleepwalking with this sort of thing for a long time. Not just Sean Dyche. I mean, we've spoken several times about what's fucked up with this football club and why it's gone in the direction it has, ownership and various managers and whatnot. It just. It's interesting because I've been having a lot of chat and debates with our fans, and they're saying, why bother changing the manager when every single time we do it, we end up in the same situation every time. But that doesn't mean, in my opinion, you can go and keep the manager just because it's not worked last time. You can't just sit there and just watch the dire style of football we play. Before scoring 4 against Wolves last night, we only scored 3 goals in September. And, I could go off on a rant like he did with Mark, his name is, with us just after they got out of Old Trafford there. And he's absolutely spot on. It's you feel like you're wasting your time a lot when you go and watch Everton. And the reason I think there's a lot of that going around is because, dare to say this, and maybe tempting fate, but anytime I think Everton are going to get relegated, the immediate response, which I'm pretty sure you'd say as well, Gav, is that the 3 sides worse than Everton, and that's why Everton won't go down. And that's true, but that doesn't make supporting us any better. It's not an achievement. It shouldn't be classed as an achievement to stay in the Premier League. Yet, season upon season, Sean Dyche kept his job because he did that, which you're inclined to say, well, that sort of makes sense. He's gone and achieved what Everton needed to do. He deserves another chance at this. And that's the merry-go-round this has been. It happened with Lampard. It's happened in the manager that we've had going through pretty much in David Moyes, aside from one season under Roberto Martinez, and that's why he's talking about that apathy that's come aboard for so long now. And as you mentioned there, we have the worst of the managers, not necessarily in how he is a manager, because he's made his trade on fighting relegations. That's what he's done for his career. That's his forte. He's no much better than that. He's not going to manage and take this in a certain way I'm not calling Everton a massive club, but this is the biggest club that Sean Dyche will ever manage.
Correct.
And that nobody else will come in and take him as a manager.
Yeah.
Nobody else will come in, and you're not going to get him to go to a Fulham or something like that, or a side that's actually doing half decent in the Premier League. Everton's going to be the side that he gets to, and he's probably back in the Championship. And I feel as if when he speaks, there's an arrogance about the man, which seems to try and justify the absolute shit show that he set up. And we're just tired of it, mate. The way in which he plays. Ironically, the game against Wolves there was the first time, and maybe they took it upon themselves because they're that pissed off with the fella that he actually kicked 4 or 5 passes on the ground rather than it route one to Calvert-Lewin, who's, we don't know what's going on with him. So, we're stuck in the middle of another season or approaching the middle of another season where you're like, give us 17th, give us the summer, new ground. Hopefully that's when it all changes, but, you still wouldn't put your money on that.
Yeah. It's, I know where you're coming from. It's Sean Dyche does feel like he's turning into one of those managers that just he's an escape artist. He basically takes over the mantle of Sam Allardyce. That's what he feels like he is. And I know where you're coming from. He won't get it. He won't be at a bigger club than Everton unless the likes of Leeds come up. Right, and
exactly.
If a Leeds come up and we're badly struggling and got Sean Dyche in for the last 10 games of a season,
basically what I mean by that is like a side that's in the shit, basically.
Yeah, that's where he's going. That's where he's going. That's where he's going to make. He's going to make himself 3 or 4 million quid every 18 months by doing this stuff. Yeah. That's what he's going to do. Matt, with Everton, I was absolutely honestly. I listened back to this podcast after I listened to it because when I listened to it first time, I was like, Jesus, I actually thought I was actually worried about this guy, right? Because he sounded so fucking upset. But the words he was using,
he's fine, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'd say he is fine. I'd say a few beers later, and he was absolutely fine. But the words he was using, like people are saying it there, like familiar with that feeling, Dave. I had that feeling for 25-ish years from 93 to 2017. Now, I don't think it ever got that bad as a Liverpool fan, but I kind of think of the Hicks and Gillette era where you're kind of going, fucking owners are awful. They're fighting with the manager. This is a manager that had won, European Cups, and it was mad. But Matt, when you look at Everton and you look at Dyche, right? Before we get into this, all joking aside, I suppose, they do look like a club that is just, and I hate using this term, circling the drain, because that's what they look like, and they literally have a time here where they go, oh, when we get to this, it'll all be fine. But there's so much more in a football club than a new stadium, to make this be fine.
Yeah, when you mentioned it on that Monday show you did with Kev, talking about managers potentially getting the sack when the issue of the Everton finance is coming up, and saying, like, just getting a new stadium isn't an overnight cure for financial problems. And the Arsenal example of their move to the Emirates and how long it took them until that cash flow starts to become realized. So it's not just like you open the doors on the Bramley Moore docks and everything, the money just starts pouring in. It's the uncertainty around Everton with the takeover and all of the behind the scenes stuff that, has an impact on the pitch, but shouldn't really, it's still 11 men kicking a ball and you got to score more than the other team, sort of thing. And how Dyche sets his team up shouldn't be affected by the boardroom level drama. But the whole thing just kind of creates this vortex of uncertainty about Everton. And I stopped this season of thinking that they're going to go down because they've proven year after year that even if it looks bad, they've got decent enough players that have been there before, guys like Tarkowski that have been in those relegation scraps before. And now this squad, a lot of them are battle tested in this specific arena of staying up. And there are some terrible teams in this league. So like, I don't envy you, Dave, having to go on and do post-match shows talking about that, because it's tough enough going on and doing it after a 3-3 draw at Newcastle, let alone going on after 4-0 defeats to teams like United. But like, it's just presumably, and hopefully, Dave, you can give us some insight into maybe some of the things that are going on in the background, but presumably there's going to be some light at the end of the tunnel coming for Everton, at least at the boardroom level, of getting getting rid of Mashiri and having somebody there that wants to own the club, that actually has a little bit of vision and, wants to be there, sort of thing. And it'll right the ship for them. But I mean, that result yesterday is huge. Just like, I think it could be overstated how big that 3 points was yesterday, because I took a little peek at the Everton schedule coming up, and
yeah, it's an horrendous run of fixtures, and they really needed to win that, because I could make an argument Everton don't pick up another point till January the 5th. I could actually make an argument that could happen. And like Matt mentioned something very interesting there, and I know it's a Liverpool podcast we're on, and people would say you're talking an awful lot about Everton, but we've an Everton guest on. I want to know about it. But Dave, we talk about what's going on in the background. To me, looking from the outside, it's literally like nobody's in charge, right? Because if anyone's in charge, they're looking at that manager and they're going, he has to go. He has to go. Right, I agree with Matt. The players are battle hardened. He's battle hardened. I agree with you though. This sort of arrogance to him, like he's the answer to everybody's problems at Everton. And you're looking, going, yeah, right, okay, you kept them up. Last season there was points deductions. You would have been fairly safe on about 48 points, I think. But why aren't you kicking on? And don't get me wrong, there's financial problems there, but you've brought in some players. Why isn't the standard of the football you're playing improved, or why aren't you better at what you want to do? Because they seem to be regressing in that. But outside of that, Dave, it's like there's nobody in charge. It's literally like everyone's gone, listen, give us a ring when the stadium opens and we'll see where we are. That's what it feels like to me.
No, that's absolutely right. Looking from the inside out to the outside, and that's exactly the situation. I think you've just got me thinking about it, the way in which you've described that with Sean Dyche, because the way in which he talks, the way in which he publicly shows himself off to fans and obviously everybody else when they see all of his interviews and whatnot, there's an arrogance there, and that arrogance exists because there's nobody there to sack him. He appears to me and many of our fans that he's not going to get sacked up to the point of where you're getting beat ridiculously to nil every single game. Many people will smile at that, thinking that is actually possible, the way Everton play underneath him.
But he probably has his excuse lined up, because we're saying it's a horrendous run of games. So he has that at the ready as well.
Yeah, he's a manager of that ilk. He's one of those, and you mentioned Sam Allardyce there. I mean, there are remarkable comparisons between those two that we could talk about all night. The way in which Sam Allardyce made his living. Sean Dyche is very much of that sort of side of what managers do in football, and that's to sort of put out fires and try and keep people in the league that they've got the club in charge of. But to go back to your question there and your point about why aren't Everton kicking on, this is the best squad. This is really sad. Everyone listening to this will find this really sad. This is the best squad we've had in several years, because we actually performed off the pitch and brought some positive players in. You'll probably see him, or you will see him on Saturday. Obviously, let thoughts know to me what you think of him. But and Dyer, we've got there, is a bag of tricks, and he's exactly what any team that is struggling, any team that is watching woeful football, he's the type that you want there, because he stands out. He's like completely different than anybody else we've got on that pitch. We signed him. He's by far been our best player. We went inside Mangala from Aston Villa. Him and Idrissa Gueye have only played alongside each other, I think, half a dozen times out of the 14 games. And they are head and shoulders. The three of us, if you've not watched Everton all season and you watch that game, or if you watch any game where they're the midfield duo, you'd be looking at it thinking it's just an assumption that you don't even look at it twice. They're a pair that's a central midfield pair that should start every game. Nonetheless, Sean Dyche has kept Mangala on the bench a lot. Idrissa Gueye had to do a lot of it on his own. And this, what you said initially, sort of the nucleus of all of this with Sean Dyche is look, if any of us in our jobs, in our lives, there's every chance that you sort of down tools a little bit if you know you're not going to lose your job. Obviously, notwithstanding what job you've got. But I know I'd do it. I know if I could sort of get off work, early because the boss isn't in. I'd probably do it. And this feels the situation with Sean Dyche. Everything he comes out and says, he was criticising fans. He was going through that whole narrative that you hear from a manager that is basically on his way out. There's just nobody there to sort of pull the trigger on him. And whilst there's nobody there, that is why you are rolling the dice once again to stay in the league. And the point Matt made there, I completely agree with. Everton will stay up. The Premier League will catch you at some point. It might not be this season, but Everton have been treading water for several seasons now. You've seen 3 campaigns where we've had to stay up on the final day or the penultimate final day of the season. We've had to go and do that. This year, the last season, everyone's assuming what the bottom 3 were, which it turned out being, with Luton being the only one of the 3 that sort of had a fight a little bit. This season, possibly a little bit different. I think Leicester will probably kick on a bit because they've gone and got a new manager in. Lo and behold, that is what Everton should be doing. And, they didn't felt like a sore thumb because we haven't gone and done it. The Premier League will catch you up at some point. You guys will know that. On the other end of the table, you'll know that division doesn't suffer too many for long. And unless you sort something out. And, the thing that we're going back to the point that you were talking about Mark making after the rant he had after Man United there, is that's what stays on our mind with everything with this football club, is that when do you ever see Everton improving to a level that we can look into a season and say, do you know what? I used to criticise, believe it or not, David Moyes for this. I used to speak to him weekly. 11 years he was there, and he was hammered for keeping Everton as a midfield / Europa League candidates. He was ripped apart for that. How much would an Evertonian give for that right now? I would pay everything I have in my house for Everton to be a bog standard team in 10th or 11th place right now, whilst they're able to go and concentrate on moving to a new stadium. Matt again mentioned Arsenal there. You think about how poor of a record they had at the Emirates when they first went over. It happens quite a lot because no one's fucking used to setting into their brand new stadium. Everyone will be singing and dancing and all that. But it's the completely different circumstances in and around you. If you've got to go and do that in a summer where you've still got Sean Dyche in charge, you haven't made any sort of significant signings because your new owners are late in or they might not be in by then, whatever that situation is. You're going into a new stadium where you're like, first game, all delighted turning up there. Got our brand new seats, brand new tickets. Everyone's like, wow, this is great. Everything's brand new. But when you actually turn to look at what's going on the pitch,
nothing's changed.
Exactly, and the situation that Everton go there in, you automatically think 10 minutes into a game where we're playing like we have been under Sean Dyche, you're thinking, fucking hell, nothing's changed there apart from the Mersey behind that. That window. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That I think has gone long-winded to what I've said here, but it's hard to support Everton. It's hard to support them because I mentioned that word apathy before. It's difficult to get up for anything here. Now look, we've got the Merseyside derby on Saturday. Obviously, that's the game for us. That's the biggest game we've got. Many an argument, as you guys will know, that whether Everton are Liverpool's biggest game or not. That's always been a debate, whether it's Liverpool, United, whatever. Liverpool City in recent seasons, of course. The derby to us is quite obviously Everton's biggest game of the season. Yeah. You'll see Goodison and everybody will be like, look back in April. That's our best performance in a few years.
Yeah.
And that's, you guys will know this as well. Anybody listening to this will know with their team. It's infuriating when your team just stands up for one particular game because it means everything to somebody else.
Yeah.
When you're an absolute pile of shite, like we were against the draw against Fulham, like not scoring any goals up until yesterday, 3 goals since September. How's a manager kept his job with that being the record of scoring a goal? Just one more thing, Gav, on that, just one more thing on Dyche there. He's built his career defensively on clean sheets and being able for the other side to, he's able to absorb possession, 70, 80% possession, and that's how he's gone and got results. That's what he's based it on at Burnley. He's done that at Everton. Our best run of form under him has seen the opponents have more possession. Great record I heard yesterday, just before we move on. 22 of Everton's last 23 victories have all came against sides that have had more possession than Everton. That's the side we are. But is that sustainable? Absolutely not.
No, it's not. You see, it's not sustainable, and there's an argument that things don't get any better going into the stadium. Because as soon as you go into that stadium, payments start to have to be made back on the stadium. Running costs of the club increase, all this sort of thing. So your budgets might increase, but your costs increase. So the actual playing field is about the same. And if you're running at about the same, I don't think everyone are spending enough money. But then when you look at what he spent, like the guy at centre back, 20 million from, was it Leon? He signed him, Jacob Ryan.
Yeah.
And he doesn't play. He doesn't play. They bring him on 83 minutes at Old Trafford, and I'm like, lads, genuinely, like, Tarkowski's having a fucking nightmare, right? The other guy that used to be at Burnley and Manchester United, he's terrible. Keane. And they just keep going, oh yeah, he might be all right. We're stuck for money, but let's sign this player and not fucking do anything with him. You know what I mean? And there's an argument that when you get into a stadium, things get tougher. Things actually get tougher financially, which means
this is what I'm talking about, where you will be caught up.
And I know what you're saying with regards to Liverpool fans will know this, because you can get caught in this league at the other end of it. Yeah. You know, Liverpool got caught at the end of last season because we didn't manage games properly. You know, and when we didn't manage games properly, we became more open, we became more susceptible to conceding goals, and we fell on our arse, let's be honest, in the last 7 or 8 games of the season. And then you talk about and one of those games, obviously, the derby in April. But when you look at Everton playing that day, it wasn't rocket science. It wasn't out of this world football. What it was really dedicated and strong defensively and aggressive when you got a chance to go forward. And honestly, I don't think that's too hard to do in the Premier League. If you're Everton or Brentford or Liverpool or anybody, if you can do that and set your style out to be that, it's absolutely fine. You'll win more than you lose because you're defending properly and you're a threat. And if I keep saying this, teams at the bottom either don't defend properly or they're not a threat. And if you can't be a bit of both, you're in trouble. You know, it's when I look at Everton, I look at Deutsch and I look at the club itself, I just think to myself, there's just nobody doing anything. And like you said, it's hard to get up for stuff. And Mark, the guy that had this rant afterwards, it must be so demoralising, right, that you can't even look forward to a new stadium, I don't think. Because every time you lose a game, it's like, we lost the game and the manager was shit and that player was shit and so was he and him and him and this guy that we signed doesn't even get a game and this guy that's actually quite good and Ndoi, he won't be there too long. And then the stadium and Merseyside, and there's just an endless list of things that you just keep saying over and over again every week. It's not like, you know, like you said, we're 10th or 11th, we lost that game. Look, we're trying something new. It didn't quite happen. It might happen in a couple of weeks. You're okay with that. But when it's literally the same thing over and over again, and the list of things that are wrong are just getting bigger and bigger, it's very fucking. I think it's very, very hard to marry that together and be sort of positive. But the
before you move, I know you're going to Matt now. Just before that, a couple of points there on. The new stadium there almost becomes an albatross around your neck, and I think you've sort of you've indicated that a couple of things you've said is about that, and I completely agree with it. And again, it's something else that I haven't really thought too much about. But when you're thinking you're going to the promised land, but that's great. Like I said, it's brilliant for fans going to a brand new stadium. It's brilliant for Liverpool fans when the Anfield Road then changed and when the main stand changed. All of that sort of thing. Great for fans who constantly go to their home games at somewhere that's changed things up. But like you've said there, or like you indicated, the only thing that changes for Everton is the scenery. Everything else is still the same. Everything else is still the same. Which then, you know, Dice has criticised fans this season so far and everything. But just going back on your point there about, you know, it's not rocket science, is it? If you can't score goals and you do concede goals, that's when you're going to be in the absolute shit show. When you've got Slot, who looks like a breath of fresh air, he has been a breath of fresh air over there, he's taken over the reins from Klopp. You look at two world-class managers like Klopp, like Slot, I would presume the 19 or the 18 other managers in that league. You go in on a Monday morning or a Tuesday morning after your weekend, and the lads will go into training, and then it'll be like, we'll start looking at the opponent we've got at the weekend. How long do you think it takes a manager to get the projector out and say to them, Everton are doing this, and this? Playing Man City, probably spending a few hours on that. You would spend 10 minutes looking at how Everton play and think, right, this is what we've got to do, lads. We do that, Everton don't win this game. And that's the situation we're in right now. And that is why it's infuriating that Sean Dyche will not change. Goes back to the point there about O'Brien that you made. 15 million quid from Leon, where he was absolutely fine. Similar, in a certain extent, to Branthwaite, who was over in the Dutch league, sort of got his games around, behind his under his belt, come back. He's going to be sold inevitably. He's going to be sold for big money that we want to try and get. Very nearly happened in the summer. Those situations which you've just spoken about there, absolutely bang on, and that is why I think, if I'm not just saying this because it's the derby of the weekend, but clubs that don't beat Everton at the moment need to take a bit of a look at themselves, and that shows you how.
You've teed us up really nicely here, Dave.
That's how shameful it is to supporters at the moment, mate. Honestly.
But you see, you're talking about which is the biggest game and which isn't, and honestly, the two games I hate in the season is away at Everton and away at Manchester United. I'm confident at Anfield that Liverpool can beat anybody. Anybody, bring our best world 11 at Anfield, and I still think we'll beat you. But going to Everton, what I find is when we go to United, I think over the last couple of years we showed them way too much respect and let them have the ball. And when we go to Everton, we turn it into a game Joe Royle would be proud of. And I'd be like, what are we doing here? Like, honestly, if we get the ball down and pass it around and make these lads run, we'll just take them apart. And then it'll be over on 60, and they won't want to get beaten by anymore. And we're not really bothered. It's 3-0, and we'll all just shake on it and go home. You know, the sort of way. And that's what happens with Everton. The derby on Saturday, early kick-off. I have seen some rumours there's high winds and weather warnings and all for Liverpool, and people are saying, could this game be cancelled? We'll wait and see. But we draw 3-3 at Newcastle last night. I thought we were poor first half. We're 1-0 down. And it's like, we're lucky to be 1-0 down, to be fair. It was one of those games, again, where obviously Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak have decided, do you know what, I might actually fancy a move, so I'll actually turn up tonight because we're playing Liverpool, and they'd be absolute shit at the weekend against some other team, because that's what they do. But we let Newcastle turn into a Newcastle game, rather than saying, let them do that, but when we get it, they're not getting it back. And we come back 1-1, we come back from 2-1, we get ahead, Kelleher makes a mistake, and of course when Kelleher makes a mistake, it's like he's the worst goalkeeper in the world. He's made one mistake in I don't know how many games. But we go into this one, Matt, and is it simply, this is how simple I think it is. I don't really care that we're playing Everton. I don't really care that it's the last game at Goodison Park. I don't care about Sean Dyche, Mashiri, the fucking new stadium, whatever it might be. I want Liverpool, and I'm hoping Arne Slot does this. He goes in and he says, look, we're Liverpool, we're top of the league. These are 15th. They're averaging probably a goal a game. They're averaging a point a game. We're better than them. Go out and play your game, and everything will go your way. Because if Liverpool play their game here on Saturday, 1, Everton won't live with them, and 2, Everton's fans will literally be fucking falling over themselves to fucking tell Everton how bad they are within 10 minutes. And that's the truth.
Yeah. I would imagine that Arne Slot, just the type of character that he's shown himself to be in these first 20 games for us, will have all the emotion and history and whatnot stripped away from his preparation for the match. He's got no, connection to the derby. He's a Liverpool manager. He will know that Everton is the local rival, I'm sure. But other than that, he hasn't been in it yet. This is his first derby. So, it might change going forward after this. And, we kind of saw how Jurgen Klopp would approach the derby.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to care about it, and would rest players. And you'd be
at
like,
the
what
start.
are you doing?
But then he seemed to care to the point where he went out and went, I actually think Everton might be quite good here, and let's see if they are, instead of going, they're not. And that's not being disrespectful to Everton. Everton have been good for a long time. A long, long time. The sort of way. But go on.
Yeah, no, so I think he's definitely going to have us set out to come out and play our game, and really, and especially because somebody is going to warn him, like, if we let Everton get a foothold in this game, first 10, 15 minutes, that crowd is going to get up for it. It's going to turn into a bit of a bear pit, kind of like what we saw at St. James's Park last night. The worry that I have, and this is what happens when you draw a game when you've been on such a wonderful run, is that you start having the doubt creep in a little bit, is I'm certain that we had that plan going into the game yesterday, and we just didn't have the legs for it. And that's the worry that I have, because I think man-to-man across the park as a whole, the 11s that are going to get put out there on Saturday, we should win the game. We're in a much better place. We're in a much better place. We're scoring more goals. We're tighter at the back than they are. But the legginess that we showed, where even though almost certainly they were told to go out and play the game in the way that we've been playing the games, how we played against Real Madrid, how we played against Manchester City, and we just couldn't do it. We were just that half step or a quarter step too short. We start losing all of our battles in the midfield, and it starts to show. And then you start thinking about, who's gonna get the nod to start the game on Saturday. And well, it's not going to be McAllister because he's suspended. And Ryan Gravenberch sure looks like he could use a rest because he was about the tiredest out of all of them in that midfield. Well, that's Curtis Jones, Szoboszlai, and question mark. Is it Endo? Is it Harvey Elliott? And so that's the main concern that I have. And I was so excited that you got Dave on here tonight to talk about this with us, because I'm wondering his take on Everton's ability to do that running in midfield, to have that power and energy that we saw from Joelinton, Bruno Guimaraes, and Tonali yesterday. That those are pretty high end operators. That's a pretty solid midfield three. I think those are better players than Everton can put out in their midfield. But running is still running. Graft is still graft. Desire is still desire. And I haven't watched enough of Everton this season to be able to say yes, they do or don't have that ability to, because that's where the game's going to be won and lost, is in the middle of the park. If we're going to win it and win it as comfortably as ostensibly we should, it's going to be because our midfield absolutely dominates the midfield of the park.
Yeah.
And if we get upended and we draw or lose, it's going to be because we lose that battle in the middle of the park terribly.
Yeah. It's interesting. I actually think a massive issue in the game last night was the selection we made at the back. Now, I understand what we done. We left Trent on the bench because he was only back and he played Man City and he played the vast majority of Manchester City, and he went with Quansah and he went with Gomez. I think was a huge mistake. I think he should have started with Trent and he should have done 60, and then he should have went, listen, let's get this game won and then bring on Quansah, and maybe if you want to move Gomez or whatever, because it gave Newcastle the initiative, and Newcastle's only outlet of attacking is Isaac and Gordon, and our weakness, or not weakness, but our change was there, and I think it affected everybody. The position of our midfield, the way we were playing, our out ball to our fullback, it just didn't feel right in that sense. And that's nothing against Jarell Quansah playing at right back. He's a centre back, the sort of way. We've been unfortunate there with the injuries of Bradley, and who's been excellent when he comes in, and I think that just skewed us, because we equalise in that game. We bring Trent on and we dominate, because what happens is, right, Gordon scores, okay, but overall Liverpool dominate because straight away the fluidity from that side of the pitch just adds straight away. And I know what you're talking about with regards to Everton and running and stuff like that. I don't see this as a running game. I think this, to me, if I'm Everton, I'm not moving 10 yards further up than the edge of my box. 10 yards up from my box, I'm not going any higher than that, because I think Salah, a Nunez, a Diaz, a Gakpo, whoever it might be, I think he'll kill them. Like, Salah will fucking kill you if you go high up the pitch. And that's where I think Everton have to go back to what I was talking about earlier. Really solid and disciplined in defence. And when you get it up to a Beto or a Calvert-Lewin or whoever it might be, they have to hold it. They have to win free kicks. They have to get you up the pitch. You know what I'm saying? But I can't see Everton turning around going, listen, we're playing on the halfway line here. This is our game. I just don't see it. But I completely get what you're saying. We looked a bit leggy. Everton have had a game as well. It's an interesting one. Dave, you're going into this, we've spoken about Everton and who they have, and it's the same old stuff every week, but obviously Wolves turned up there last night, and as you said, I think me and 10 of my mates could have beat them. When you look at this Liverpool side, and you look, albeit they've drawn with Newcastle, and it's not an easy place to go to Newcastle. I think people have, were just on such a high that it was like, we'll beat Newcastle, that'll be it, we'll just beat them. And they've beaten Arsenal there, they've beaten Man City there, they've drawn with us. So then they turn up on the big games, their main players, because they might get a move. I genuinely think it's that. But Dave, when you look at this Liverpool side, I'm sure a lot of it frightens you. When you look at it, like Matt says, man to man. But what do Everton need to do here? Because Liverpool have got threats and lots of them.
I think just going firstly on Matt said about the midfield battle, I think that's a really interesting point here because, and dare I say, as much as I've criticised Sean Dyche here, he has got quite the dilemma because that midfield there that I've been so critical of with that duo I mentioned before with Mangala and Idrissa Gueye has been by far our most successful period of games when those two started. Now against Liverpool, you simply have to put a third in there. We could not go into that game without putting three midfielders in there. Yeah. Decore's not the answer. When he's decided to put him in midfield, he's simply not good enough. You talk about legs, that lad's got half an hour in him maybe these days. Bit of a talisman for us. I think the record is that we've not won a game without him playing in the last couple of years or something silly like that. You have to think about putting another player in that midfield. On the other side of the coin to what you've said there, I still think you need that solidity in front of. You're effectively going to end up playing a back five because of how deep we'll end up with Salah up against Ashley Young, who incidentally has been probably our best player so far this season, which says a lot if you haven't been watching Everton so far.
I bet you can't believe you're saying that, Dave.
Well, that's mate. That's why it's a complete nightmare, mate. You think you're about to wake up and think it's not this bad, but it actually is. Him against Salah is petrifying. He's 39. He's about to play against his kids in the FA Cup, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
Against Peterborough, that's how laughable it becomes. Him against Mo Salah is just, and the other idea we were talking about with this is trying to address Salah, who's just electrifying, probably the best run of football I've seen him have at Liverpool, and he's always been world class as it is anyway. But this right now, interesting enough, it comes when contracts come about, isn't it? That you see players go to the best, but I'm not too sure what that situation's all about. But stopping him's route one for us, absolutely priority to that. Everton aren't going to have as much of the ball as Liverpool. You go back to April, this is going to be really different since April because Liverpool will have done their homework on this. You've got a manager there who, I'm not going to go as far as saying Klopp went into that thinking, do you know what, I don't really need to do anything here because I know what we're going to come up against. Because, well, yeah, you pretty much did come up against what you thought was going to happen, but you just didn't control it.
Yep.
You didn't do enough to get Everton out of the things that they actually do well. And that is win headers. Basically win headers.
Yeah,
win fouls.
They let Everton turn into a Joe Royle game. That's exactly what it was.
That is it. You go back when Calvert-Lewin scores that goal at the Gladys Street, and if you watched when Duncan Ferguson did it on
in 94.
94, it's exactly the same goal.
Yeah.
And it obviously made me laugh at the end of it, thinking that that's how Everton have gone and won that derby against a side that is so much better than us. The rest of it there, how much you've improved post Klopp, and I think it's a debate you guys have often, is sort of a Klopp versus Slot in regard to the side of quality that Slot's brought up into his own. Because Liverpool are a different side than last season. I don't care if anybody says that it's not different because they're the same players. I think Liverpool are a lot more difficult, a lot different animal this season for me. And so far this season, obviously the results prove it, a lot more sharp than what they had towards the end of Klopp's tenure in there. Whilst that's the state of things, I pray you start in Darwin Núñez. I know you won't. And I don't I say that with a smile because I do think he's not going to stay at Liverpool long, let's face it. There's as many chances as you want to give the lad. That's if he plays, that's Everton have got much more of a chance of winning that game, which is quite bizarre that I'm able to say that because aerially will win that with Branthwaite and Tarkowski there. Will win that aerial battle, which I think Liverpool don't want to drag themselves into whatsoever. They want to keep it on the floor, like you said. They can get in and around Everton with, you've got Salah, you've got Whippets on the pitch, you've got a midfielder who's impressed me, probably top 2 or 3 I've seen so far this season in Gravenberch. I think, the interest in what you said there about defensively against Newcastle, that would be an issue I'd be looking at this game with if I was a Red, because that feasibly is the only way Everton get into this if you don't have that sorted out properly and efficiently. Coming forward towards us though, it's pretty worrying there. I mean, I'm guessing you sort of play Gakpo there up front with
funny enough, Gakpo
one of the maybe rhythm.
Yeah, So what he's done this season is he's played Jota centre forward and he's played Núñez centre forward. And when he's been without Jota, and he's looked to, play other players, he's gone with Diaz in that central role, and he's kept Gakpo on the left at all times. He's kind of left Gakpo and said, his best assets, he's big, he's strong, he's decent in the air, but we want him out wide. And they used him really well against City by actually putting physically onto Kyle Walker in aerial battles and stuff like that. So if you don't see Núñez, which I don't think you will, I think you'll see Diaz through the middle here on Saturday. I think you'll see Diaz, I think you'll see Gakpo and Salah. That'll be your three.
Do you know what's really interesting about that is, and it'll have been overlooked by everybody, Evertonians as well. That game, Liverpool should have comfortably scored 3 goals against us in April.
Yeah,
there's a ball through from Trent, who puts it through on a plate to Diaz. I think he does it one time, and then Núñez, who basically misses an absolute sitter because he's got 3/4 of the goal to slot it into, and he decides to hit it straight to Jordan Pickford. That probably epitomises the way he's been for Liverpool, missing from that sort of gilt-edged chance. And then of course Diaz hits the post. You may well be laughing there. Then I can relive every second of that game because we went.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's absolutely fair.
With that though, I mean, it shows you Everton have got to win that game. But you talk about fine margins. Liverpool should have scored first in that game. They definitely should have scored twice. It's not like you can look at that game in April and think, "Oh, we were miles away from getting a result there." In reality, you actually weren't. You slipped up on an absolute cock-up and howler of a defensive mishap that gives it to Branthwaite, who just about to get it over the line past Alisson. And then, let's face it, Calvert-Lewin, the one thing that will stick with throughout his career is he's an aerial beast. He gets up so high. You see how high he gets past Van Dijk, who's taller than him. That's what the one thing he's got in his locker that essentially makes him a Premier League player. Everything else about his game thinks, do you know what, he's probably a championship level. This match coming up there, that trio you've mentioned is petrifying. If they're able to put, and you made the point there, you wouldn't leave the edge of your 18-yard box if you're Everton. Completely understand that. But I tell you what, that means that it probably fits in both in what you've dovetails what you both said there, because with that midfield that Matt was talking about that's so important, you think about how deep that's going to drop for us, so the lines in between them two aren't breached, because when they are, that's when Everton defenders are stepping out. That's when your lads are going in behind, running all over the place like flies all over the place, and Everton are standing there as structured as they possibly can. Liverpool will get chances. Like I said, go back to the start of what we were talking about. The Salah is petrifying. Sorting him out, I'd double up on him. Everton are not going to do that. I'd actually applaud Sean Dyche if he went for 5 at the back, which has been notoriously shit for us from many times. I
think what Everton might do is I think he'll play Ashley Young and he might play McNeil, and he will kind of do that where he'll say, because if Everton come out and play on the halfway line, they're in trouble. I think if they come out and say, right, our line is just outside our box, and if we go up the pitch, we go up the pitch, but as soon as Liverpool try to break us, we need to retreat, and these 3 lads in midfield need to do everything they possibly can to get back in front of them 2 centre-backs as quick as they can.
Yeah, and the one outlet you've got there, the outlet you've got there is in Dyer, was talking about there. We put Brozier on as well for the last 15, who look promising as well.
Yeah, and he's been signed since the summer, and it's been a long recovery for him. But Matt, we know what Everton are going to do. Dave said it. It's the same thing all the time. You know what I mean? What way should Liverpool approach it?
I think the biggest thing is coming out and not giving the crowd anything to build off of the first couple minutes. So if that means being, very cautious with the ball and passing it around and keeping it, and that also gives us time to kind of suss out the shape that they're going to take up off the ball, just in case Dyche does throw a slight wrinkle in, whether it's with lineup or tactics or something like that. I don't want to see us giving them anything cheap in the first couple of minutes, whether that's cheap free kicks to give away, a series of corners or something like that in the first 5 minutes that just allows the crowd to get up and just kind of strangle the life out of the match for the first 20 minutes and half an hour. And then I think there's going to be a big impetus on Cody Gakpo in this game. And you mentioned how Slot's gone with Diaz through the middle when Jota and Darwin haven't been available or chosen to play through the middle instead of Gakpo. And I think a lot of that has to do with Gakpo's ability to cut the ball in at pace with power, and he has a pretty tidy little delivery on him. And this was something that was said about him when we signed him originally, was that, he's got this great delivery from that left-hand side. He's providing these crosses in the Eredivisie for PSV and whatnot. And we saw it a couple of times in, I want to say, the City game. And it was a lot of fun, so they all kind of blend together after a while, of just back post kind of crosses. And we're seeing the same thing from Mo. We saw it for Gakpo's goal against, I think that was against Madrid too. It's all blending together. Of back post kind of flighted crosses. The Gakpo's goal against Man City, same thing, playing the ball into the back post. I think that sort of delivery is going to be important for us, because there's no doubt that they're going to have bodies in the box. So it's going to be tough for Mo Salah to try to do one of those little dangly footed dribbles through the box where he walks around people, unless it's snowing heavily. If it's snowing heavily on Saturday, then all bets are off. And, put your money on Mo Salah scoring an absolute worldie, because that's just what he does when it snows. But I think that's going to be really important for us, is matching up, because they are going to try to mark Salah out of the game. And if they double up on him, whether it's 5 at the back or, like you said, Gav, with McNeil dropping back in to help Ashley Young out, they're going to focus on that, because how can't you? He's on form, the best player in the world at the moment. So I think a lot of our attack is going to come from Cody Gakpo down that other side of the pitch. And presumably he's up against then who? Mikalenko,
yeah.
I like Cody Gakpo's chances.
He was probably one of our players.
Hold on. Cody Gakpo can't be playing against Mikalenko.
He's been dreadful as well.
But Mikalenko's a left back, isn't he?
Well, no, that this has been another theme that you sort of swap him and Ashley Young over.
All right. So Mikalenko's a right back now, is he? Fair play.
And the other talk of this as well is, and I think Matt's alluded, both of you alluded to it there with McNeil, sort of doubles up as a wing back. The other idea is on the other side, you get Jack Harrison to do that, because, again, he's a championship player, but the one thing he's really good at is doubling up with whoever's behind him. And when he's come on that right-hand side with Ashley Young, he's been really, really good. By no means effective whatsoever, turning the other way and looking at your goal. He absolutely shits himself. But in regard to being in our own half, maybe it's the Sean Dyche approach when he goes towards attacking wingers. But jokes aside, that's where Everton have been effective with attacking players that have come at us. So you could feasibly see it, like you and Matt have both said there. You could see Everton doubling up on both sides, not only up against Salah. And then, looking at something ahead of it for us, and you keep one man, it'll be Calvert-Lewin, then he tries to leave in Liverpool's half to sort of relieve the pressure that we have. With Decore, when he can get up there, he'll be running around like a headless chicken, like he has been recently. And then you've got Ndiaye, Ndie's not going to be a defensive player by any means, even though he does track back and he runs his arse off. He's going to be the person that can slot anything that Liverpool give us. And Matt's point there about how you start this game, if you nullify Everton and just restrict them by basically keeping possession of it, which I said has been the most successful way we've been able to win games and get results in games, is if the opponent has more of the ball. It's a Merseyside derby. That comes first and foremost when you've got 40,000 fans in there screaming that Everton aren't doing good enough against the red shite. That is where Goodison goes against itself.
Yeah.
Because you're begging for a 2-footed tackle. You're begging for someone to be volleyed, obviously not sent off, but you're begging for that to happen. That doesn't. Goodison can go really flat, really quickly.
Well, that's the thing. If Chelsea come and play tonight against Everton and have loads of the ball, Everton go, but we're sitting back, we're comfortable, and we're going to be a threat. Whereas Liverpool come on Saturday and do the same thing. The psyche of the crowd is completely and utterly different because of what the game is. But if I want to get lineups and I want to get score predictions before we run out of here in a minute. But if I'm Everton, the problem I see with Everton is if they try double up on Salah and Gakpo is, I think you're going to leave 2 players free for me. And one of them is going to be Trent and one of them is going to be Curtis Jones. And Curtis Jones in that position, looking at Gakpo with 2 guys standing beside him, is going to drift. and he's in really good form, Curtis Jones.
Yeah.
And if you double up with, you know, an Ashley Young and a McNeil, you're going to leave Trent free. Yeah, it's impossible to look after him if you're going to double up on Salah. And Trent can be devastating from where he is, you know, sort of way. And also, I think it's going to take away from a possible midfield battle that Everton will look to try be aggressive in. If I'm Everton, I'm going 4-4-1-1. And I'm putting Ndoye up behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'm saying, listen, 2 banks of 4. This guy playing off Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin has to win free kicks, knock the ball down, get it to this guy. He's a bag of tricks, and see where we can go from there. And it keeps them solid. If I'm Liverpool, I'm saying to myself, listen, they're not going to want Salah at them. They're not going to want Gakpo. Diaz is alive, where we're going to end up with a player free, I think, in one of the full-back positions. And if Everton had a preference, it'd be Robertson, but I think Liverpool will walk it towards Trent. And they're going to have one free in the midfield position because Ndoye isn't going to come back and do that work. And I think that might be Curtis Jones. And I think they could be huge in the game. Anyway, before we go to lineups, because I nearly forgot to do this and I'm really, really sorry. Before we go to lineups and predictions, I just want to put this up on the screen. This is, Dave, you're winning this, by the way. This is a little thing that's popping up all over Liverpool at the moment. It is, are you blue or red? It's popping up on all these kind of digital...
This isn't examining if blue or red's there's more Liverpool fans than Everton fans, is it?
No. Basically, what this is are you blue or red? Right? It's popping up on these. It's popping up on these billboards all over the city at the moment. It's very simple on the billboard. If you're walking by one in Liverpool, you literally scan the QR code, vote red, vote blue, and it's basically the more blue. If there's more blue people vote, the screen turns more blue, and if not, it turns more red. It's to do with gambling.com. And listen, if people want to enter that, you can go in and vote. Very straightforward. You don't have to do anything. It's absolutely fine. If you want to go on a little bit further, you can actually vote, and then it'll give you an option to put in your name and your UK number, and you can win tickets to a game, hospitality tickets to a game of your choice. So at the moment, it sits there, Everton on 54,000 votes, Liverpool on 36,000 votes. It can change very quickly. There's 1 day, 13 hours and 31 minutes left. Now, if you want to do that, I've put a comment in the live chat if people want to just click on that and go off and do it, or it's in the show description as well. It's across all our social media as well, and that was something we were asked to run for the next couple of days. But that vote's flying, by the way. There's been about 60,000, I would say nearly 60,000 votes since I checked that a couple of hours ago. So it's really building up now. But if you want to do it, you can absolutely do it, and it's really easy to do. As I said, there's a link in the live chat. There's a link in the show description. It's across our social media. It's one click, vote red or vote blue, and then you can have it up. You can leave it at that. But if you want to enter for hospitality tickets to a game of your choice, obviously not the derby at the weekend, but if you want to see an Everton game before Goodison finishes up, or you want to see a Liverpool game towards the end of the season, you know, you never know. You might get one for Palace. I think it's the last game of the season. They could be lifting trophies and shit like that. Or we could be there going, for fuck's sake, Darwin, if you hadn't missed all those chances in the last 4 weeks, we could have won the league. Something along them lines. You can do that as well. So go check that out. Right. Thanks a million for that.
That's the only thing we'll be winning in the next 48 hours, mate. I know that.
Yeah, well, you never know. Well, you mightn't even win it. You know how it goes. You could lose at the last minute. We'll see how it goes. But lineups. I'm going to give mine for Liverpool. Matt, you can follow up if you agree, and Dave will give his, and then we do quick predictions and get out of here. And to be honest with you, I'd love to stay all night, but my nose is literally running like a tap, and I'm literally, I don't know how I'm surviving. So for me, Liverpool, Kelleher in goal, Trent, Van Dijk, Gomez, Robertson. I think he'll go Gravenberch. I think he'll go Szoboszlai, Jones, and I think he'll go Salah, Gakpo, Diaz.
The only change I would make is I don't think Gravenberch can go again. I think Endo's going to get a start.
Oh,
okay. I think it's going to be Endo and Jones in the double pivot, and Szoboszlai being the fourth man runner into the box.
Okay, so Endo for Gravenberch for you.
Yep.
Okay. Mightn't be a bad show actually if Everton are going to go one off the striker, and if they go one off the striker, they may actually need Endo to just pick up those pieces. You never know. Jonathan says, no Gomez, everything else picks itself. People are reminding us that Chiesa is back in training, played for the Mother 21s or one of those lads during the week and scored as well. So he looks like he'll be back soon as well. Dave, Everton lineup for me. What way are you going?
Yeah, just to come to my mind, they're really missing James Garner, who was brilliant in the derby back in April. He would have been a big player for us in this game. But anyway, back four will stay the same. Young, Tarkovsky, Branthwaite, Mikalenko. I don't think Dye should go for a back five or a 3-5-2, whatever it is, the way you consider it. He wouldn't do that, not in a derby, considering the one that actually worked was when we played four. At the back, you've got Idrissa Gueye and you've got Mangala, who have to be essentially both defensive midfielders there. The interesting thing that needs to be established in this for Everton is you're talking about playing someone just off and just off Calvert-Lewin. I would drop Decore as you know, as much as I've been a bit hypocritical about this because he hasn't been any good midfielder wise. I'd have him in the middle of that of a three-man midfield. As me and Matt and yourself have spoken quite a lot about this midfield battle that's going to come ahead there. You've got McNeil getting back to help out Young. You've got Ndiaye coming back to help out Mikalenko. You've got Calvert-Lewin with a thankless task, but the one thing I'd say that's quite bizarrely positive about that is he's used to doing it. That's been Everton for so long. If we're able to break, and Dye's going the man to do it because he's the quickest out of the lot of them. Where if Everton are able to get it forward, he's able to hold it up. Then Everton will consider moving up to the halfway line with any of our defensive midfield players. But then you've got McNeil, you've got Decore probably set forward a little bit, and then you've got Ndiaye. That those front four are going to be pivotal to Everton having any chance that's not a set piece. And then obviously if we do win set pieces, then you've got those two lads at centre half there who effectively become our strikers in Tarkovsky and Branthwaite.
It's intriguing. It really is. All the narratives around it with regards to Goodison, everything that's going on at Everton, Liverpool where they are in the league and what they're looking to do. And then you're looking forward to Liverpool are looking forward to European games. Can we rest players in them and stuff like that? And there's so much going on. But at the end of the day, at 12:30 on Saturday, it's going to be 11v11, and whoever thinks this out the best, I think, probably wins it. If Liverpool think it properly and apply themselves properly, they'll win it. If Liverpool don't, I think Everton will see that. The crowd will want it, and but they're always interesting. There's very few Merseyside derbies where you come away and go, well, that wasn't interesting at all. Very, very few of them. Maybe the one during COVID, the first one back after COVID. Remember, nil all, terrible. But other than that, they're usually very interesting. Predictions before we go. Matt, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool win. I think Everton get a penalty and a red card in the game. I think Mo is going to score and assist again, and he's going to assist Cody Gakpo.
Okay. Dave, predictions?
Everton aren't going to score in this game. I don't think there's a hope of Everton getting Liverpool not to score. I can see Liverpool winning this 3-0. Sadly, I could see us getting a red card. Something silly from Decore, who's a bit of a headless chicken at times. Could see that happening, and yeah, it could be. Hopefully, if we had anybody to do so, as we started the show with, somebody to get rid of him, and we're able to go and get another manager in, even though it is the month of doom, given the teams you've got to go on and play before New Year. But yeah, I think Liverpool are going to go and comfortably win this one.
Okay.
And that's not me trying it in, by the way. That's
no. You'll always be honest on what you think will happen in a game, And for me, I don't think the worst thing that happened to Liverpool on last night was a draw away at Newcastle. I think any sort of complacency that may have come in because, we've beaten Newcastle and everything ain't great, we go there and we win. I actually don't think Slot allows that. I think one thing I've noticed about him is he literally fucking hates Nottingham Forest for beating him. Like, he never shuts up about Nottingham Forest. Like, all he thinks about when he goes home is Nottingham fucking Forest, right? So I think the fact that Newcastle have got a draw off them, he seemed like he was happy with the players coming back from goals down on 2 occasions, but he still wasn't happy with losing those points. I think that has really focused his mind. And I think it'll extra focus on the Liverpool side that I think are a really tight group and will look to go and prove some on Saturday. I wanted to go 2-1, but you have, so I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. I think Everton do score, but I don't know if they score and it's anyway meaningful. I think it might be something where they score on 80 and they're 3-1 down, they're 3-0 down, something along them lines. I think you'll see a focused Liverpool here on Saturday, and I think Slot will look to take any of the emotion out of this game and let quality speak for itself. And if Liverpool keep the ball and keep it way better than they did last night, keep it like they did against Manchester City, I don't think Everton can keep up with them, and I don't think Everton can organize in an organisational sort of way. I don't think they can succeed in this game to be that organised for the whole lot of it. So I'm going to go 3-1. I think Luis Diaz scores. I think Dominic Szoboszlai scores. I suppose you have to give it Salah one, won't you? Just
pretty much have to, yeah.
It's actually there about Salah. It might actually be really, really ironic. This and Everton spend all game focusing on him and then someone else. The other three lads just turn up and score while we've put 10 men on Salah for the whole game.
It's like when Everton used to be mad into Gerrard. Be like, just stop Gerrard and then someone else will go and score. You know?
Yeah. That's the quality of your side there, though, as well. Just to put a finer point on it.
It is, and the thing for me is that in a footballing sense, when I've looked at Everton this season, I think they're quite easy to stop if you're willing to commit to what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. You know, the sort of way. That's the impression I get off Everton. If you're willing to play football and do and follow up on what you want to do, I think Everton are quite easy to stop. But we'll see how it goes on Saturday. I've really enjoyed this, I have to say. I love having Dave on because I love his honesty. I love listening about Everton, and he's always honest. And the Blue Room, if you don't listen to it, I can't tell you any more to go listen to it. Like, genuinely, it's on my podcast feed. I listen to every show, all the stuff, all Borrowed Blue, all these sort of shows that come up. I listen to them all because you hear some great stuff, great Everton stories. I know you like football stories in general, but go and listen to them. You're on YouTube, aren't you, Dave? I don't. I listen to all your audio stuff. I don't look at your video stuff.
Mate, that's it. It goes under the radar because obviously it's the podcast. When I started it, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, it was always a podcast. But we are on YouTube as well.
Yeah, you're on YouTube now as well, and you get them anywhere you listen to podcasts. They're really good. But I've really enjoyed it. So thanks to Dave, thanks to Matt. It's been really good. I hope everyone enjoys the game on Saturday. Avo says, Everton 2, Liverpool 3. Everton go 2-0 up for Mo to score a hat-trick in the last 2 minutes. You know, like...
I think that will be when I give it up then, mate. You know,
it'd be just...
If that happens, I'm not going to Bramley.
It'd be like Everton just put up a sign going, does anybody fancy 2 stadiums and a cup race?
Right. I'd say you can go and take Bramley Moor like you did with Goodison.
Right. We're gonna go. Thanks again to everyone for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you want to become a member, hit the join button. $3.99 a month, and it's all a good bit of crack. And with regards to shows, today is Thursday. We won't be on tomorrow. We will be on Saturday following the game, and we'll be on Sunday night as well, and then back to into the usual routine for next week. Stephen L says, I've just subscribed. I see you're nearly 15,000 subscribers. Yeah, we are. Yeah. But we like leaving it around there. When it gets too much, you get fucking headbangers, and like we haven't got time for them. It's not even that we don't have time for them. We just react to them, and then we just go, listen, fuck off with it, and then it'll all kick off. And it'll be, you know, the cancel culture. You know, we just tell a few home truths.
The chat gets too busy, and it's hard to keep up. You know, to me, I think the best thing about the channel is the chat that's there, and it's a nice amount. It flows nicely, but it's not like...
Yeah, but apart from Avo being on absolute magic mushrooms there with 2-0 and a hat-trick in the last 2 minutes, like, you know, apart from that, it's absolutely fine.
That happens, you know, I'd take that without optimistic about that. I'd take that.
2-0 up and hedge your bets, see what happens.
Get off on the 2-0 up because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Right, listen, we're going to go. Thanks again to everybody. We'll see you again soon. Over and out.